Welcome to this explainer. Let's just dive right into the fascinating and, honestly, kind of wild evolution of English language teaching. We're going to do this by following a young teacher named Professor Adam. Now, Adam had one incredibly big problem. His students were just bored out of their minds. Some of them had memorized all the grammar but couldn't actually hold a conversation. Others could speak a little bit but made constant mistakes. And a few, well, they just stared out the window every single lesson. But one evening, while he was cleaning the school library, he stumbled upon this glowing, mysterious old book titled The Secret History of English Language Teaching. And the second he opened it, a bright light filled the entire room.
A strange voice echoed right out of the pages, saying, "You will travel through time to discover the greatest ELT methods in history." Before Adam could even process what was going on, the library simply vanished. The present day completely faded away, and he was literally pulled back in time. We're going to go on this journey right alongside him to see exactly how teaching methods have morphed over the centuries and hopefully find a real solution for his struggling students.
All right, first stop on our journey, grammar, habits, and rules. Adam blinks, and suddenly he's standing in a classroom straight out of the 1800s. It is pin-drop quiet. This is the grammar translation method. The students are just sitting in these rigid rows, translating Latin sentences into English, word by painful word. Watching them copy grammar rules for an entire hour without speaking a single word of English aloud, Adam whispers to himself, "Wow, this explains why students know grammar but absolutely cannot speak." But then, in a flash, the room vanishes again. Now he's in a completely different vibe, the direct method. It's bright, it's full of pictures. The teacher holds up an apple and asks, "What is this?" And the students naturally just reply, "It is an apple." No translation allowed at all. It's all gestures in English. One student actually laughs out loud and says, "We are learning English by using English."
Now, Adam realized something pretty profound here, and I want you to think about this for a second too. Have you ever learned a second language the exact same way you learned your first as a kid? It's an interesting thought, right? Because the direct method essentially proved that treating learners like children acquiring their mother tongue by focusing entirely on listening, speaking, and getting meaning through context could actually be incredibly effective.
Suddenly, Adam is jolted by this loud, rhythmic sound. It sounds almost like a military drill. We've jumped forward to the audiolingual method. The teacher is literally barking out prompts. "I am walking. You are walking." And the students just chorus it back over and over again. Step 1, prompt. Step 2, endless repetition. Step 3, immediate correction. There's zero creative thought here, just pure drilling to form habits. It's intense. And Adam even overhears one exhausted student whisper, "I think in drills now." So what's the logic here? The crucial psychology driving all this exhausting repetition is behaviorism. In this era, teachers truly believed that language wasn't about understanding complex rules at all, it was just automatic habit formation. Practice makes perfect. The idea was, if you just drilled patterns into the learner's brain over and over until they literally couldn't get them wrong, the language would become an unbreakable habit.
Moving on to our next era, mind, body, and silence. Okay, the next classroom completely shocks Adam. It is called the silent way, and true to its name, the teacher says almost nothing. They're just pointing silently to these colored rods and charts on the wall. It's the students who are doing the struggling, trying to figure out how to form sentences on their own. One student cautiously says, "Blue rod is longer than yellow rod," and the teacher simply nods. The students are the active problem solvers here. They're doing all the heavy cognitive lifting. Watching this intense focus, Adam thinks to himself, this classroom is quiet, but mentally, it is very loud.
Then, the scene shifts again to something called Suggestopedia. And this completely flips the stress of learning on its head. It turns the classroom into this relaxing sanctuary. Imagine soft classical music playing gently in the background. Students are sitting comfortably in decorated chairs while the teacher calmly says, "Relax, learning is easy," and reads these long, dramatic dialogues. The whole point is lowering anxiety and using positive suggestion. By completely removing the stress, the mind just opens up. One really relaxed student smiles and says, "I feel like I'm learning in a cafe, not a classroom." But then, boom, Adam is suddenly in a room that looks way more like a fitness class than a language lesson. This is total physical response, or TPR. The teacher is shouting commands like, "Stand up," or "Walk to the window," and the students are actually getting up, moving energetically, and happily following along. Comprehension and listening come way before speaking in this method.
It is so action-based that one student accidentally jumps when the teacher says sit down, and the whole room just bursts into laughter. Nobody is afraid of making mistakes here. Let's dive into Section 3, Real Communication and Chunks.
Adam steps into the Communicative Language Teaching classroom, or CLT, and wow, it sounds completely alive. Students are working in pairs, discussing travel plans, role-playing ordering food at a restaurant, debating social media. The teacher is just walking around, basically acting as a facilitator. Fluency matters way more than absolute perfection right out of the gate. Hearing all this lively chatter, one student proudly says, "We are using English for real life, not only exercises."
Next up, Adam wanders into a class where the teacher is writing these specific phrases on the board. By the way, make a decision at the end of the day. This is the lexical approach. The core idea the teacher is explaining is that language is made up of patterns, not just single isolated words. By practicing these chunks and natural combinations, learners bypass those super rigid grammar formulas. While practicing this, one student suddenly lights up and says, "I finally sound more natural." Which brings us to Section 4, the modern eclectic classroom. Suddenly, Adam is pulled right into the modern era, and he watches this one single, incredibly dynamic lesson unfold. It kicks off with a high-energy TPR warm-up game, shifts smoothly into a communicative group discussion, pauses for a really targeted grammar explanation, and then wraps up with Lexical chunk practice. This is known as the eclectic approach. It flexibly steals the absolute best elements from every single era Adam has just visited, allowing the teacher to pick and choose whatever works best for their specific learners on that specific day.
But for his final kind of surprising stop, Adam walks into a Dogme ELT classroom. And in this room, absolutely all the materials are stripped away. No textbooks, no worksheets, nothing. A student casually mentions missing a flight, and immediately the teacher builds the entire lesson around that spontaneous story. It is entirely conversation-driven and learner-centered. The teaching just emerges purely from genuine human interaction. As that lesson wraps up, the bright light returns, and just like that, Adam finds himself standing right back in his quiet school library, holding the old book. The final page reveals this powerful realization. No single method is perfect. Great teachers understand methods, then adapt them to learners' goals and contexts. Adam looks out at the empty desks of his classroom with a brand new smile. He finally has this evolving toolkit to help his bored, struggling students actually thrive. And that brings us to the end of Adam's incredible journey. I want to leave you with a provocative thought here. Think about your own learning, or if you teach, your own teaching. Based on everything we just saw, which of these time-tested methods really resonated with you the most? Which chapter of this evolving story belongs in your classroom? Keep that question in mind as you approach your next learning challenge. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.